Hello everybody! If you haven't seen my YouTube channel before, welcome to Sticky Cactus Inc., the channel for cartooning videos. If you like this video, click the subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. There will be details in the video on how to win a $50 Amazon gift card. Today, I'm going to show you how I draw a character of famous YouTuber Simon Whistler. I hope he doesn't mind and doesn't take offense because I'm a huge fan of his channel and his videos. Please forgive the small gasp for breath between my narration. I spent some time in the hospital in April that left me with a partially collapsed lung that is still healing. Also, please forgive the time lapse on the drawing and the narrow format. It was done using ArtFlow Studio in my Samsung Galaxy Note. That's the reason for the narrow format. I prefer using Autodesk Sketchbook for digital drawing and inking, but I like ArtFlow Studio for coloring work. I started the drawing in ArtFlow Studio, so it was just easier to finish it there. I needed to speed up the video to keep it around 15 minutes long. Are all of you budding cartoonists ready to get started? I'm going to be working digitally in ArtFlow Studio today, but you can use a regular pencil and paper when following along. Drawing a caricature is a little easier if you use a reference. I watch Simon's videos for my reference material. You can see I start my drawing by working in blue pencil. That's just so it makes it easier to ink my lines later on in the drawing. I begin by laying out the basic shapes of the character drawing and placing loose lines to help me judge where the eyes, nose, and mouth go. When drawing a character, you want to exaggerate features as much as possible. I'm choosing to elongate the head, make the glasses larger, and give him a big ol' smile. When drawing a character, it's important that you exaggerate the features of the person you are drawing. You want your character looking like a cartoon version of the person you were drawing, and not like it was drawn by Leonardo da Vinci to hang in a museum. As I build my shapes, I constantly rework them to help the proportions of the drawing. You probably noticed earlier that I made his poor head lopsided, so I had to make an adjustment to it. Once I build my shapes, I start to work on the details. After all, without details, our character would look like some crazy, faceless emoji, and not like the person we were trying to draw. I look for identifying lines in the nose, cheeks, forehead, and oh yeah, even the size of someone's ears. He has a very large, toothy, unmistakable smile. To help bring out that smile more, we need to accentuate it with some cheek lines, and I felt like I needed to give him more of a block shape to his chin. Remember, exaggerate, exaggerate, and exaggerate even more. I can't say it enough. This is what will help give your character that cartoon style and feel. This is why I'm exaggerating the teeth so much and looking for details that will help identify the character. When moving on to the ears, I do the same. I over-exaggerate the size of them to help them stand out in the drawing. Here you can see where those early guidelines came in handy to help me place the tops and the bottoms of the ears. Your early rough shapes and layout of your drawing are a big key to the final product. But remember, you can always change things and you don't have to stick with your original shapes and lines. Always try to be fluid and free-flowing while drawing. It will help make your drawings more convincing to your audience. I tend to move around a lot in my drawings. It helps keep me from getting bored of drawing in one area. I'm adding some thickness to the frames of glasses to help them pop out in the drawing. Once I get the thickness of the glasses finished, I decided it might be a good idea, to give him a neck. Usually during his shows, he's wearing a button-down shirt with a t-shirt under it, so we'll give him the same wardrobe. We'll even let a little chest hair peek out of there. These are the types of details that will help convince your audience of who is in your character. Remember to exaggerate those features and to use your reference material whenever you need to. They will help make you into a better cartoonist. Well, those two things and lots of practice. It's your drawing and you always be your own worst critic. I guess I need to get back to the teeth. I told you, I move around a lot. After finishing the bottom row of teeth, I can move on to his eyes. Again, I'm using my guidelines I made early in the drawing to help get me the basic placement of his eyes. Using your reference material, keep in mind the most outstanding feature of the eyes and exaggerate that. We still need to add some eyebrows, and I also added some reflection in the glasses, along with some accent lines on his forehead. Most of the time, you are going to consistently add small details to your character. The more of them you do, the more you are going to want to add details to keep your drawings interesting. Now it's time to add the most important feature of the drawing, that wondrous beard. We want to make sure and give his beard a textured look, like short spiked hair. Also, make sure it follows the curvature of his face. After I get his beard roughed in, I begin removing some of my guidelines to help clean up the drawing. I focused on cleaning up the areas around the eyes the most because that is where most of the chaos in my drawing is. Once I get most of the old guidelines out of the way, I start slightly reshaping and further defining some of my original lines. While I'm cleaning up the drawing, reshaping, and defining some important lines, I look for other areas I might add some accent lines or details to, such as areas around the nostrils or by adding some dimples to the smile. The closer you get to the end of your drawing, the more you'll want to look for details. Since I'm jumping around in my drawing like a kid playing hopscotch, I know my method can be hard to follow, but feel free to pause the video or back it up if you need to. I just need to clean up some more of my original guidelines and some of the rougher lines in the sketch. Moving back to the eyes, I add some more reflection to the glasses and need to finish those up by defining the iris and pupil. I also need to adjust the placement of the eyes so my proportions are correct. To make the eye more convincing, I add small accent lines to indicate eyelids. Through the video, you probably noticed that I rotate my canvas a lot. This is so I get a better angle when I draw certain lines. I do this while drawing on actual paper too. It's how I feel more comfortable while I work. Depending on the type of drawing I'm doing sometimes, I'll leave my pencils rough and other times I'll polish them up. This time, I'm leaving them rough before inking. So that's it. We're ready to start inking the caricature. I begin the inking process by testing various pen tools in ArtFlow Studio. I want to find one that will fit my drawing style. When selecting a pen, I try to find one that will give me nice slick lines and also allow good control over the weight of the lines. A big part of the inking process is to give your lines a good varying weight to help give the illusion of depth and dimension. Before I start inking, I add a layer to my drawing, and that's the layer where the ink goes down. You can see how my drawing lightened up after I decreased the opacity. Usually I will lighten my first layer by dropping the opacity to around 50 to 75%. If you're at home and using pencil, pen, and paper, you can just ink over your original pencil drawing, then erase your pencil lines when you are done. I'm speeding up the video a little more during the inking process to help keep the video short. But I will go over some important points to think about when inking. There are several types of ink you can use to ink your drawing. When selecting your ink, look for a good brand name of Black India ink. I prefer one that is waterproof. You never know what could happen to your drawing. You should be able to buy it at most office or craft and art stores. If you don't have access to India ink, that's okay. You can still use a good old ballpoint pen to ink your work. I did it all the time when I was a kid. It will take a little longer because you still want to give your ink lines some varying weight. That means you will be drawing multiple ink lines instead of making one swoop with your brush or pen. If you are using traditional ink, you will need to keep some whiteout nearby just in case you make a mistake on one of your ink lines. If you decide to ink with a pen or brush, many cartoonists use a sable hair No. 2 brush for inking. It will help give you good varying line widths to add the depth and dimension we talked about earlier. If you aren't yet comfortable with a brush and an inkwell, grab a scrap piece of paper and practice making your lines. You can vary the pressure and the speed of your lines. This will give you more of an idea of how to lay down your ink lines on your drawing. If you are working digitally like I am, you will probably find yourself using your undo button a lot, and I mean a lot. I think someone needs to make a drawing app where the undo button can earn Bitcoin. It takes some time to develop your technique when digitally inking. Some programs offer an option to help you with your lines by predicting or smoothing them as you draw them. One of the great things about working digitally is erasing. If you are using pen and paper and you make a mistake, it takes time for the correctional fluid to dry. In a digital program, you erase and keep on going. It also makes the drawing look cleaner. Working digitally also gives you the ability to work in layers. Layers are a very good tool to help separate aspects of your drawing. Most cartoonists use layers to separate their original pencil lines from their ink line layer. You can also use layers during the coloring process, but for now we'll keep the focus on inking your pencil drawing. Cartoonists who choose to work digitally, just like cartoonists who work with traditional tools, will always find some tools and techniques work better for them than others, so treat this video as a guide and not as a rule. I'm always learning new ways to work or trying new techniques to make my work better and faster. It also gives you more flexibility when uploading your work to social media sites, and makes it much easier to change your work at the last minute if you need to do so. I always find myself making changes to my inks even after I originally thought they were finished. So it is great to have a digital copy at my fingertips so I can rapidly make changes if I want or need to do so. Sometimes the inking process can be very slow. You can tell in this video that inking takes much longer than drawing the original pencils. If I was going to let someone else ink my work, I would polish my pencil drawing up more before I gave it to them. It makes it easier for them to tell what is going on and where to lay down the lines. For me, I think digital inking takes longer than traditional inking, but I originally learned to ink with a brush and pen. I'm sure over the years I developed more speed with a brush than with digital tools. There is more to inking your drawing than just tracing it. The inks can really help your drawing pop off the page and bring it to life. This is where the varying line weights are used. Try and focus heavier lines on areas of your drawing you think are naturally heavier and darker, while you do the opposite with your light lines. You can use your lightweight lines to give the illusion of projected light or that an object has little physical weight to it. Think of how steam might look. You may lay down heavy lines towards the bottom of steam, while the upper lines might be very light and vague. Never feel constrained by your original drawing. Always feel like you have the freedom to change things as you see fit. I had an art teacher while I was in high school that would always tell me, "It's your world." She was absolutely right. There will be times when someone will criticize your work and it will make you feel like stopping and never picking up a pencil again. Don't listen to those people. The only opinion that should matter about your drawing is your own. If you feel you need to change something, do it. If you're happy with your drawing, then that is wonderful as well. You should always be happy with your drawing though, because it came from you. I can tell by the graininess of my voice that it's getting close to time to wrap things up. After the medical problems I had recently, my voice begins to get raspy after speaking for extended periods of time. I apologize for that, but anyway, back to inking. I try to lay down thicker lines of black in heavier shaded areas, like around the collar and under the chin. In this particular piece, you could choose to add some heavy shading on the beard to help signify that it's darker. I think I'm going to leave mine light for now, just in case I decide to color it later on. As I get closer to the end of the inking process, I start looking for areas to lay down some light shading. Under typical lighting conditions, I look for areas that would be set a little further back, such as the areas beside the nose, between the eyebrows, under the neck, and the deeper part inside the ears. I also look for areas to possibly add a little texture like the fabric in his shirt. That just about finishes things up. The last thing left to do is sign your work. Remember when I told you earlier I like to make changes to my drawings even after I finish them? Well, you can see I ended up bringing up his beard closer to his ears and changing the black shading under his neck and near his Adam's apple. Here is the finished product. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have questions or comments, please feel free to post them under the comments section. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button. At the beginning of the video, we said that we would be giving away a $50 Amazon gift card. Here are the official rules and how you can enter and win. Unfortunately, the contest is only open to subscribers who are 18 and over. We will be announcing a winner on July 30th of 2020. Good luck to everyone, and thank you to all of my viewers and subscribers.